I'm not going to scare you all. I'm going to be speaking here in just seconds. So make sure you hold on.
Oh,
Got here too soon.
I believe in you.
Yeah.
Hey everybody. Ooh. Wow, it's hot. This microphone's hot. I'll try to keep my mouth a little further away. Everyone hear me okay? Get back on the bed? Okay. You can hear me? I'll try to look right at you when I talk to you. My name is Mark Applegate. I work for Senior Age, but I do a lot of volunteering with the Alzheimer's Association. And we're all wearing purple today because it's Thursday. We're also wearing purple because we're doing a memory screening here in the office. We've been doing it all day. We'll be doing some more later on. Got 1 or 2 slots available left. Might be able to squeeze you in other times too. I'm going to talk really briefly. I'm going to cram about an hour worth of stuff in about 15 minutes here. Explain some of the reasons, things to watch for that you might be assigned to talk to your doctor, and just kind of warning signs, basically, what I'm going to do. Briefly, the reason I kind of care about the topic, I care for people, but also my mom's got the disease. She's had the disease since 2009. She was only 65 years old in 2009 when she developed it. And she still has it now. She's still alive, but she's at the very end right now. My grandmother also has had the disease and passed away with it on the same side, and my uncle the same way. So it's a very personal thing in my family. We've had several, and there's other members of the family too, and in-laws too. So it's definitely an important thing to me. Just so you all know, dementia, to just give you a quick summary of what dementia is. Dementia is kind of the big term like cancer. It's the overarching term that's a list of all the symptoms. So it's like the umbrella term of all the things like memory loss and stuff like that. And there's types of dementia. The most common type is called Alzheimer's disease. So if you're kind of curious what the difference in dementia and Alzheimer's is, Alzheimer's is a type of dementia. So there's other types too, lots of them. So basically what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to go through the 10 warning signs of dementia, give you a couple examples of it, and I'll leave you back to eating and talking and stuff. It's really important before I do that to know that the earlier you can find out if you have it, the better off your odds are, because there's all sorts of new treatments that are in the that are out and they're in the process of coming out, but depend on you catching it really, really early. So you want to find out early. I know it's scary to find out, or it's a little nerve-wracking, but it really isn't the testing part of it is not that big a deal, and it's like I said, very important if you're going to find out so that you can get on these plans to be able to be treated. So the first warning sign of dementia is memory changes that disrupt daily life. The key word with that is disrupt. Like I'm kind of disrupting your meal. Disrupt. Memory change. We all kind of have memory changes as we get older. I'm 52. I already don't remember as well as I did 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But these are things that are disruptive. It'll be things like forgetting when someone died or how someone died. And we've all kind of talked to someone before, and they lost a relative. You knew how they died, and they said out of the blue, well, yeah, she had cancer. And she really didn't have cancer. She got in a wreck, but they kind of made a mistake on it. That's kind of one of those warning signs of when the memory part becomes disrupted, or like the rubber meets the road, kind of. Other things like repeating yourself in the same conversation. If you're having a conversation that's 10 minutes long and you hear someone repeat themselves 2 or 3 times in the same conversation, my mom did that a lot. I mean, it's hard to listen to sometimes because you'd be in literally a 10-minute conversation, she'd say the same thing 3 or 4 times and she'd forget she said. So that was a big warning sign for her. Second one is challenges in planning or solving problems. This could be things like bills. People that, if you struggle with bills, not because you don't have enough money, but because you forgot to pay them, and it's getting to be a problem and stuff, that's a big one. Like recipes you've been doing your whole life, the same recipe, now you can't remember it anymore. Things that are kind of new is a big part of this game. So if you have challenges in problem solving, it's a big one. Third one is difficult to completing familiar tasks. I've got a good example of this one. A good friend of mine had her husband was a military guy, and if you're a military guy here, I appreciate your service. Today is the 80th anniversary of D-Day, by the way. I appreciate your service. But a friend of mine her husband was a military guy, and he was a mechanic in the military. So he worked on cars, worked on helicopters both. Very good with tools. He retired, and one day he called his wife out of the car and said, "Hey, I can't remember how you take this thing off." And he was pointing a nut on the car. He couldn't remember what a socket was. He'd been doing mechanic work for 40 years, so obviously he should have been able to remember that. It was disruptive for him for sure. So she said, "Oh heck, I need to take him to the doctor." She took him to the doctor, and the first thing the office asked is, "What's your social security number?" Just to get him signed in and everything. He couldn't remember his social security number either. And for a military person that did mechanic work for his whole life to not remember tools or his social security number, that's not very good. So it was definitely a red flag to her. So if you're having difficulty completing the things you normally were able to do really easy, that's a big one. Fourth one, trouble remembering time and place. I'm not talking about like what time of day it is necessarily. I'm talking about more like seasons and years, maybe who's president, stuff like that, or kind of where you're at. That's a big one. That's why in some of these tests they'll ask who the president is. If you pick a president from a couple presidents ago, you know that you're a little off on it. Seasons too. Seasonal sometimes is a big deal. People with pre-dementia sometimes will wear a winter coat when it's summertime, and they didn't realize it because they forgot the season was. So that's kind of one of the big ones. Number 5, trouble understanding visual images or spatial relationships. A lot of fancy words there, but it's more things like depth perception, becoming a trip hazard because you don't see things. Plus your field of vision as you start aging gets a little bit less, but as you get dementia, it gets worse and worse. So you can actually see this stuff out here, but you're only really focusing on this stuff right directly in front of you. So you can, sometimes people will sneak up on you and you don't even realize it, and you'll sneak up on your loved one and they'll stare at me, even though you're right here. They should be able to see out of the corner of their eye, but they can't. So that's kind of a red flag. If they get snuck up on real easy or that kind of thing, I would definitely talk to your doctor about it. That kind of comes into play too in driving, because your depth perception isn't as good. So if the ball rolls on the road, you think, "Oh, I got plenty of time to pull over," and what you don't realize is there's a kid chasing the ball. So it's important. Next one is number 6 is new problems with words and speaking or writing. My mom, big time on this one, would word find, that's what they call it. She would, I'd come up to her when she's kind of early stage, mid stage, and she'd say, "You got that," and she kind of pushed her face and stuff. She was kind of annoyed that I didn't shave, so she was trying to tell me I had whiskers. And she said, "You got that dirt stuff," and she kind of put her hands around her face. No, yeah, I forgot to shave, you know. So kind of word find. I'm not talking about like forgetting the right word to use in a conversation. I'm talking about forgetting the word that matches it, you know, like look, there's something walking by, it's a dog, but you couldn't remember the damn dog, you know. So if you have kind of word finding like that, I would definitely talk to your doctor about that too. Number 7, misplacing things or inability to retrace your steps. That's a big one, because what ends up happening a lot of times is people will try to carry all their stuff on them. So if you have a loved one that is carrying a bigger and bigger purse, or they have a special spot in the house where they hide everything because they're afraid of losing it, that's kind of a red flag. My mom did that a bunch. She had carried a pillowcase. She carried all her stuff in. Unfortunately, it was what she considered to be the most important stuff, but it wasn't, and kind of to you and me, the most important stuff, the stuff she's afraid of losing. So that's a big one. If you see someone that's misplacing things a lot or unable to retrace their steps, like if you drop your cell phone somewhere, you ask them, "Where all have you been today?" And we can go back and look in those places, and they can't remember where they've been. They can't retrace their steps to find it. The 8th thing is decreased or poor judgment. Some of you guys get my text alerts I send out at my senior age. We send out text alerts all the time on scams and stuff. People with even their early stage dementia may think that they're not susceptible to these things, but they tend to be more susceptible. Got a great example of that one. Gentleman I talked to recently had his dad buy a truck. His dad had dementia pretty bad, but it wasn't bad enough that he still couldn't live by himself. So he went and bought a truck out of the blue for $40,000. Salesman shouldn't have sold it to him because he hasn't had dementia. I mean, it's pretty obvious he had it. Shortly after he bought this truck and got a license, he realized I can't really drive very well anymore. He started to kind of get close to wrecking and stuff. He recognized it's a good idea. So he sold it to his neighbor for $1,000. After spending $40,000 on it, putting a few hundred miles on it, he sold it for $1,000. So poor judgment is a piece of dementia. If you find yourself making bigger mistakes and stuff like that, talk to your doctor. Ninth thing is withdrawal from work or social activities. You get people that usually come to the center here for hours and they say they drop off and stop coming. They might be embarrassed by their dementia. They may have they might just be afraid of making a mistake, or maybe being afraid of not being able to make it home driving and stop going. Isolation's a big thing for people with dementia. They tend to think, oh, I shouldn't come because I might get lost or I might have a mistake. So it's kind of a big one. Isolation's a big thing anyway, too, by the way. We don't have to be isolated. We want to be with people like this, be able to visit and stuff. Because people that are socially isolated, it's actually physically bad on them. I did a big study recently that said that being isolated is the effect on your body of about 22 cigarettes a day. So it's really bad on your body to not be around other people and not share life. Last one is changes in mood or personality. You've probably all known people before like that. They were struggling a little bit with their memory, and it made them grouchy, cranky, paranoid, stuff like that. It's a red flag. If someone is normally a sweet person, now suddenly they're mad all the time. If they're normally a trusting person, and now they're paranoid that everyone's stealing from them, stuff like that, that's to me a big red flag. It really is. So that's kind of the 10 main warning signs. There's a couple other just bonus warning signs I'll tell you real quick. If you kind of can tell you have something going, that's enough reason to talk to your doctor. If you think, I'm just not as sharp as I used to be, it doesn't necessarily fit into those categories, I just don't feel right, talk to him, talk to the doctor. Flip side of that also is if someone else tells you, hey, it seems like you're not sharp, are you okay? Use that as an excuse to talk to the doctor too. The good news about it is the doctors have treatments now that are new that can do things that actually help. But they have to catch you really, really early. If they don't catch you really early, it's not going to help. Or they won't even put you on the drug to begin with. So it's best to get checked early. Like I said, we'll do our testing back every day. We'll be doing it until, I think the last appointment is 2:30. There's one more appointment available at 2:30. We might be able to sprinkle a few more people in. But if you have any of these concerns or any other concerns, definitely talk to us. Tina here in the office can get you through to me, and I can tell you all about it. If you have a question about the disease, if you have a concern, feel free to call me or call CMH, who has done a wonderful job by providing the screen today. Definitely, don't just ignore it. If you ignore it, it's going to cause you to lose opportunities later. So does anyone have any questions or any concerns about dementia or anything I can do to help you before I wrap it up and let you eat your meatloaf?
The term type 3 diabetes.
He's asking, what do you think about the term type 3 diabetes? That's definitely one of the things they're looking at really closely is blood sugar in the brain. It's definitely one of the things they're looking seriously at because your brain, they don't know 100% sure all the causes of these dementias and stuff, and blood sugar definitely factors into it. I think there's no doubt about it. In fact, a lot of people have type 2 diabetes, so they're a lot higher risk. So many say that they're calling it type 3 diabetes sometimes. So, in prevention-related things, just think of it like this as a summary. What's good for your heart is good for your brain. Because everything a lot of the same things are happening in your heart as happening in your brain. You have different organs that do different things, but your blood is going through both of them. The blood flow matters a whole bunch, and blood sugar matters a whole bunch. So what's good for your heart is good for your brain. So yeah, if you have untreated blood sugar, treat it. If you have untreated blood pressure, get it treated. If you have, oh goodness, stress in your life, treat it as best you can. If you're not sleeping enough, find a way to sleep more. There's a bunch of things like that. Eat better. Eating the food we have here at the center has been set by nutritionists. It's designed to be healthy for you. Healthier than going to McDonald's or something like that. Any other questions or concerns or anything like that? Dementia? If anyone does have anything comes up, I'll have a little table sitting outside by your kiosk machine, or we'll be back in the back corner doing our screen pre-setups and stuff like that. But if you kind of consider doing this time of year, not late, we'll be doing another screening over in Buffalo in about 3 months. or you can call CMH anytime. They can have different screening opportunities there as well. Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate your attention there.